Thanks for joining me. I'm 1st District Councilman James Brown. We're doing another council comment. Today I'm here in the Wimburn neighborhood with Laura Hatfield, who is the new director of the OneLex office. A lot of people may be familiar with Laura from her work with Partners for Youth, but now in her new role, I think she'll continue to do some of the same things that she did at Partners for Youth, and that's build relationships, build teams, and help to bring out the best in people as we move forward and do some of this work in the community. So thanks for joining me, Laura.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah. What I've been telling people about this position, it's kind of the mayor's response to a lot of safety issues that were taking place in the community. And I've been telling people that you're kind of in the gap, you're in the gray area between public safety and social services. Can you speak a little bit about that in your role?
Absolutely. I think in some of these neighborhoods that are experiencing, some of them experiencing a disproportionate amount of violent crime, we have to ask ourselves, whether it's social services or public safety, our faith community, our schools, are we doing right by these neighborhoods? Are we giving the best services that we can to Wimburn? Are we giving the best services that we can that we are charged to do? And so I think my work is really to pull all these folks together, these organizations, kind of have us throw our chips on the table to say, here's what we do to serve communities, and are we doing the best job we can? And if not, how can we make our work better?
Okay, I think that's a good synopsis of the work that you're trying to do. Now, I've been a real big supporter of this office when the mayor first mentioned it, and I've also been a real big supporter of you. But what you mentioned is your focus is going to be on neighborhoods,
right,
more so. And can you talk a little bit about how, and I've talked to people about how a lot of times when you call the police department, that's a reaction to what's taking place.
Right.
I think your focus is really going to be on root causes.
That's right. We have to remember that there are so many assets all across Lexington, and many assets in these communities that are experiencing crime. And so first, our job is to kind of illuminate those assets and those gifts and those resources, and then we have to identify what are some of the needs that they have. And so once we do that, we can identify the gaps and see how we can make a difference there. But one of the key components is always going to get community engagement and ownership and empowerment, and the only way to do that is what we'll start by doing is listening. So we're excited to do that here in Wimburn.
Okay, I think you hit on several important points there. One of them is making sure that you get community input and that you actually listen to it. I know in these past few months since you've been in the position, you've been doing a lot of groundwork,
right,
a lot of foundation building.
Right.
And I think that's important, and I think people need to know that. I think that when you come into these neighborhoods, you're not coming in as an outsider, coming in to change or to tell them how to be a safer community.
That's
I think
right.
You are working with them and have done the research to make you be able to pull the partners that you need together.
Yeah, absolutely. The worst thing that we could ever do is come into a community and kind of swoop in and say, looks like you've got some issues in your community, let us fix it so we can get right back out of the neighborhood and go to another area. So again, the best thing that we can do is listen and then ask ourselves, based on what we heard, are we doing the very best by these neighborhoods? And if we're not, we need to be big enough to say, how can we change? How can we do better? And if we're doing the best that we can based on the resources that we have, how can we lock arms with each other and make our own resources even stronger?
Okay. What I'll say is, I'm excited about this office. I'm excited about you leading this office, and I'm also excited about us starting some of the work that you're going to be doing here in the Wimburn community. I know the 1st District has a lot of target neighborhoods that we need to work in and to address, and I look forward to doing that work with you and engaging the community as we do that.
Absolutely.
Laura Hatfield, One Lexington office. If you see this and you want to be involved and make contact with her, just call 311 and reach out to her, or call my office and we can help you get in contact with her. Thanks, Laura. Thanks for joining me
James.
today.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. This is another council comment, and I'm here today with Arthur Lucas. He's the city's first diversity and inclusion officer. Thanks for joining me today, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you for having me, Councilman Brown.
Okay, now I was a big supporter of this position when the city created it, and what the intent of this position is to work to recruit, to bring more people into city government with employment opportunities, and to help us to build our capacity when we're talking about minorities involved in city government. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what experience you bring to the table?
Okay, well, a little bit about myself. I am from Lexington, born and raised here. I worked for state government for 9.5 years prior to coming here, and before that I worked for UPS, where at UPS I worked in human resources, did some recruiting, hiring for UPS, employee relations, etc.
Okay. I think the experience that you're bringing from UPS with recruiting is going to be valuable in the work that you do for the city. Can you tell me a little bit about the relationships that maybe you have in the community and with other organizations that can help to provide the city with some diverse candidates for employment?
Well, I think from that standpoint, based on my recruiting with UPS, but also with state government and being from Lexington, I already have some internal relationships, for example, with Kentucky State University as well as BCTC. I know a lot of the people within the community that are now in positions where they try to employ some of their students, if you will. And having graduated from here, I'd love to get us back into the high schools where we're also talking about positions and jobs with LFUCG within our high school ranks.
Okay, so that's actually exciting to see that, or to know that you're looking at college level students and even burrowing down to the high schools to see what kind of interest that you can garner for city employment. I know that, since I've been on council, one of my focuses has been on public safety, and I brought that concern to you, and I know you've been working with our police and fire department, corrections, and other departments in public safety about recruiting more diverse candidates. Can you talk a little bit about your work with public safety?
Yes, and with me being new to LFUCG, first thing I had to do was actually build a relationship with our public safety department, police and fire in particular. But I can say one of the things that we have already done as far as jointly working together, we attended a recruiting event at Central State University, which is in Wilberforce, Ohio. And we actually went in and spoke to a criminal justice class. And to my understanding, we had, out of that visit, we had at least one student that has already applied for a position with the city, with our police department.
Okay, so you're already seeing fruits of your labor. Another thing that I think is important about your position and what you're doing with the city is, one of the things that we talked about when creating a position was your office and yourself being a resource to council members and the administration about issues dealing with diversity and inclusion. I think that's important as we move forward, because we make a lot of decisions that impact a lot of people, but we don't always know the impact. So do you have any examples of where you've been reached out to and have some feedback about anything in the community that addresses diversity and inclusion?
Well, I think one of the places, and I did have a conversation with one of the council members about check the box on applications and how it applies to people with convicted felons or convicted felons. And one of the things that we looked into our hiring process to see if in fact we had information that was actually hindering or keeping people that were convicted felons from applying for positions within the city. And I think that's one of the steps where a council member did come to me and ask me to look into that. So I've done that, and I feel very comfortable with our hiring process and the things that we actually are doing internally from that standpoint.
Okay. Okay. So another level of kind of the work that you're doing is not only are you working to diversify the city's workforce, but then you're also looking for ways that we can address the reentry issue that is out there in the community with some folks that are looking to re-engage into the workplace.
Yes,
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 sir.
you're 100% correct right there.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. Anybody that wants to get in contact with Mr. Lucas, feel free to call 311, ask for him, ask for his office, and I'm sure he's willing to have a conversation. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. We're still doing this council comment. Now we're at the Food Chain Teaching and Processing Kitchen here on West 6th Street. I'm joined with Elodie Dickinson. She's the workforce manager for the city. Thanks for joining us, Elodie. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your job entails?
Yes, my name is Elodie Dickinson, and I'm the Workforce Development Manager. I work in the Mayor's office with Kevin Atkins, the Chief Development Officer for the city. So economic development is a big part of what we do, and part of my job is to monitor and coordinate the workforce development grants. Technically, it's called the Economic Development Grant, but it's for individuals and entities in the community who are providing workforce training opportunities to the community for those who are wanting to enter into the workforce, re-enter into the workforce, or acquire new skills and skill up into a certification of some sort. So here at Food Chain, they are offering a food sector training program, and that's part of one of the grants that's offered here within the city with the support of the city dollars.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job with the Economic Development Grant Project and the partners that have applied for funding. I know Food Chain is one of them. I know BCTC and Urban League also was awardees, along with several others throughout the community. Another thing, when your position was proposed, I was real excited about it. One, because I see the opportunity to maybe alleviate some of the barriers that are keeping individuals for getting back into the workforce. Can you tell us about your work with that population?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I come from an organization that worked with individuals with barriers to employment. So that could mean someone who doesn't have a GED, someone who has limited English, someone who doesn't have transportation, someone who has felonies on their records, individuals who really need employment opportunities, and they just need a way to re-enter a career and provide. They're really a great workforce for businesses, and in this low unemployment time that we're in, employers are constantly needing individuals to work. And so how can we as the city provide opportunities for individuals to get into the workforce that may not otherwise have that opportunity?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I think the fact that we have a record low unemployment rate, I think just it speaks volumes about our community and the opportunities that exist. And I think being able to have some flexibility, some opportunities to do something different, and to get additional training and certification to maximize your employment opportunities, I think is great. And I think the city is doing a great job of helping to create those opportunities. Tell us about some of the things that you may look forward to in next year in 2018. Do you got anything on the burner coming forward?
Well, we of course have the opportunity currently with the next grant cycle. So we have 10 different entities who will be receiving funding through the grant. But then of course I also work with the Area Workforce Development Board as well as Commerce Lexington to try to work with businesses to help them maximize any of the workforce entities that are providing opportunities for people. So I'm a connector, if you will. So I think in the future, trying to be that connector for either an individual looking for an opportunity, a business looking for someone, or just the community at large, knowing that we think that workforce is important and that we want to continue to provide opportunities for people to enter the workforce. And that's what businesses look for. When they come to this area, they want to know, what's your workforce like?
Mm-hmm. I think you made another real good point in how you view your job and your role as a connector. I think we have businesses that are looking for a workforce. We have people that are trying to get into the workforce or maximize their situation, and you can help make those connections and give companies the opportunities and individuals the opportunity to be a better partner in our city's workforce. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you to Becca Self for letting us use her kitchen as a backdrop. You know, a lot of the new people that you were introduced in this segment of council comments share a common goal in a way that they're going to be effective in doing what they do on a daily basis for the city, and I think that's building relationships. So as we continue to build relationships and maximize the opportunities we have in our city, I'll continue to try to share those with you in the future on the next council comments. So thank you for joining us.